So, there has been a lot of negative discussions about unschooling around social media lately, and I wanted to come into the conversation as a unschooling parent of 10 years. I have an 18-year-old who has graduated. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 1.5-year-old toddler. I also have my degree in developmental psychology, specifically child and adolescent development. And before I started unschooling my children, I was a preschool teacher for Head Start in an inclusive classroom of 3 to 5-year-old children. So I come into the conversation with a little bit of experience and a little bit of education around the topic. A lot of the negative videos I see are just opinions that aren't really coming from a place of education. They don't have education in child development. They are generally not parents themselves and do not have children that have gone through school, nor have they homeschooled or unschooled their own children. So I think that is very important to point out when you are listening to who is making negative comments, like what qualifications do they have to understand what is going on in a child's development. So, first, let me define what unschooling is in case you're kind of new to the concept. It is an informal learning method that prioritizes learner chosen activities as a primary means for learning. The kind of like father of unschooling is John Holt. He taught elementary school for several years in the public education system in America and decided that the current education model was not developmentally appropriate for children. He believed that children did not need to be coerced into learning, that it is just a natural process that happens during child development, is that they are naturally curious people and they learn the things that they need to learn in order to be functioning members in our society. Biologically, humans are wired to learn. They're wired to be curious. They're wired to meet their needs. And those are the needs that are placed on them by the society that we live in. So if people are hungry, they are wired to get food. Even babies, when they're newborns, cry when they're hungry to get their parents' attention. As children get older, they begin to ask for food. And then throughout their development, they are able to get themselves food, cook themselves food, go to the grocery store, plan meals. Like as people develop, they become more and more responsible for those activities. So the big TikTok that's going around is with a mother who is really excited that her 6 or 7-year-old child was starting to write, even with no formal education in reading or writing, without a curriculum, without going to school. Her child was learning how to write words. And everybody was kind of making fun of the way that the child was writing. That amount of writing is developmentally appropriate for children who are given the time and space to be able to learn to write on their own. Right now, our current education system pushes reading at a very young age. And that is not developmentally appropriate for children to begin reading before the age of 6 or 7, sometimes later. All children develop differently across the board. When you think back to when your children were young, we are given a range of developmental milestones that they should meet at certain time periods. So, children learn to walk between the age of like 9 months and 18 months. Like, all of that is normal development. And we are okay with that and we accept that. Same thing with speech. At 1 year old could be saying just a couple words, or they could be saying 50 plus words. Like, and all of that is developmentally normal. It's the same thing with reading. Reading and writing begins generally around the age of 6 or 7, but it could be as early as 3 and it could be as late as 8 or 9. All of that is developmentally appropriate, meaning that the child is going to develop as a fully functioning, developmentally typical adult when they reach adulthood and are ready to be independent adults. It doesn't matter if a child is reading at 5 or reading at 9. By the time they're an adult and need to get a job and be functioning in our society, they're generally going to be reading at the same level. Reality is that the current school model right now is not developmentally appropriate for children. It is for streamlining education. All children should have access to a free public education. But children who are in the public education system are not having their needs met. They're not receiving curriculum and an education that is developmentally appropriate. With the No Child Left Behind Act, it really pushes standardized testing, and schools are needing to get those test scores up, and it is causing immense pressure on teaching children to read before they're ready, and it is hindering the education of children. When you push reading too early, they begin to hate school, hate learning, hate reading, and our test scores are actually going down across the board. There are people who are graduating from school who are functionally illiterate, which should not be happening to children that do not have disabilities. So I have a toddler who is currently unschooled. All children start out unschooling. As parents, when you have a baby, you teach them and you meet their needs, and they develop um, by unschooling through play, through life, and that is okay. Right now, I'm teaching my 1.5-year-old colors by painting. We're learning numbers by counting toys. We're going outside in nature and going on walks and looking at flowers and bugs. We're playing with water. We're learning how to feed ourselves, how to run, how to kick balls. Like, all of these things are unschooling. It's just unschooling for a toddler. In our society, once a child hits 3, 4, or 5 years old, we believe that they need to start being educated in a different way. They need to go to school and have a teacher and classmates and peers, and be educated in a more formal environment. That mindset is wrong. That is not what children need. You can continue to teach your child in the exact same way that you always have once they turn 5 years old. They do not need to go to school. And my proof is that you have taught your child so much before they enter school. They've learned how to walk, talk. They've learned probably numbers and colors and how to get dressed, how to clean things up. They know how to make friends and be a friend and socialize with people and communicate and have relationships with other people and how to listen to books. And a lot of times before they go to school, they might know how to read. They might know their letters, and they know so much. You do not need to send them to school to start learning important things. So you might think that's all well and good when they're little, but what about when they get a little bit older and they need to start learning other things? Or my middle schooler only wants to play video games and they're on their iPad all the time. Or how will my teenager ever go to college if they're just unschooled? So let me tell you what unschooling has looked like for my children as they have gotten older. I have an 18-year-old that graduated from high school at 16, and then I have a 16-year-old who is still continuing on with homeschooling. So, unschooling is child led learning. It is involving the child in their education, following their interest. And part of that is also being a really good role model and encouraging learning, encouraging reading, and working with them on their goals. Do they want to go to college? Do they want to get a job in a certain field? Do they want to become an entrepreneur? Like, what do they want to do when they become an adult? To be financially independent, just independent in general. Those are conversations that we have with our children when we're unschooling, and we make goals and we help them reach those goals. So as my kids have gotten older, they've always done independent studying. They've picked topics every year that they've wanted to learn about, and they've read tons and tons of books. Right now, my 16-year-old is really into reading classic novels. She loves reading like A Tale of Two Cities, Jane Austen, like all of these classic books she loves to get into. So we are doing a curriculum. We're doing Build Your Library, and she kind of picks and chooses what she wants to do out of the curriculum. And she can skip a book if she doesn't want to. She doesn't have to do all of the activities. There are papers that she writes, and she knows how to write essays because one of her goals is to get into college. So we have been working on college writing so that she has a successful foundation to be able to write papers in college, because that is really important when you go to college. She is doing an online math class. She's taking Algebra 2. And, something else to take into consideration is when you want to go to college at any point, you take a college entrance exam in a community college, and they have two remedial classes that you can take if for some reason you aren't ready to start full on college classes. You can take a remedial reading and writing class, and you can take a remedial math class, and it gets you caught up in one semester with everything that you need to know in order to start college level English writing and math. A lot of the college level classes, unless you're wanting to go to like a prestigious college or like a university that's hard to get into, then a lot of colleges start you're kind of retaking the classes that you took in high school. When you start college, you're kind of like retaking math classes, you're retaking English classes, you're retaking history classes. So it's not as important as people make it out to be. You need to learn, you need to have a love of learning, you need to be educated and want to learn and know how to learn and be able to set goals for yourself, but it's not as critical as everybody makes it out. If you can be functionally literate, if you can write a decent essay, and if you know basic math, you can go to college and do the things that you want to do as an adult. Now, on to the negative aspect of unschooling. I think that there are quite a few, especially today, parents who claim that they are unschooling, but they are actually unparenting. They do not understand what is developmentally appropriate for children and what they should be doing to make sure that their child develops into a functional human being. Unschooling is not allowing your child to sit in front of a screen all day and just do whatever they want and eat whatever they want and, play video games all day. Your job as a parent is to provide educational resources for your kid. It is to get them out of the house and get them involved in activities that they want to get involved in. Find them curriculum that they want to do. You don't have to do curriculum, but you can. Like, both of my kids are very structured and they enjoy doing curriculum. You find them books to read that they like. You do family read alouds together. You travel and go on vacation together, or you do projects at home that they're interested in. If they're interested in, my oldest daughter started a crocheting business when she was like 13. She loved crocheting and she is really good and sells crochet items online and makes several $100s a month and has been doing that since she was younger. The goal of raising humans from baby to adulthood is to make sure that they can be functioning, independent members of society who is hopefully happy, who remains curious, who can learn things that they want to learn, who are able to find the resources to become knowledgeable about whatever it is that they want to learn, that can set goals and meet those goals, change those goals, schedule their time, whatever it is that they want to do. You cannot make a blanket statement that unschooling is neglectful or abusive without really understanding the concept behind unschooling, what unschooling actually looks like, and then also comparing it to the alternative, which is our current education system. The real issue with homeschooling, unschooling, is that it is easier for kids to fall through the cracks in the sense that they are completely reliant on their parents to know and understand what they need for development and their successful adulthood. So we need to really be focusing more on that and not so much of unschooling or homeschooling as a whole. The reality is that unschooling is in fact more developmentally appropriate for children than is our traditional education model. I hope that in the future that our traditional education model changes so that all children have access to a really good public free education across the board. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about unschooling, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.